Don't pay attention to the people that make a splash on the Forbes list every year. Real wealth speaks softly. And for some guys, controlling the balance of nations' economies is just another Tuesday. Today, we're letting you in on 5 black dynasties that make the wealth of entire nations look like nothing. These are dynasties that royalty, politicians, and even ministries of various countries try to borrow from. These dynasties are examples of hidden wealth, generational goodwill, and a family fortune that will outlast even countries. Get ready to enter a world of exclusive wealth and power. This is the secret world of real black wealth. Number 5. The Rabiu family, the silent disruptors. Abdul Samad Rabiu, the patriarch of the BUA group, didn't just build a company, but he built a rival kingdom. The story begins in 1960 with Isyaku Rabiu, who was a leading industrialist in northern Nigeria. History does not just repeat itself, but it compounds. Abdul Samad took that legacy and scaled it into a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that challenges the status quo of the entire African market. They operate in sugar, cement, and real estate. The detail that the market trackers always highlight is their efficiency, because the Rabiu family doesn't just build factories, but they build monuments to technology. Their cement operations are among the most technologically advanced on the planet and have driven down the cost of building for an entire nation. They challenge the existing monopolies and force the market to evolve. His net worth is around $8 billion, but the money is secondary to the strategy. He is in a strategic battle for the soul of African manufacturing. The family is also known for their massive philanthropic efforts through the ASR Africa initiative, which gives $100 million grants for infrastructure and development. That is not just charity, but it is private nation building. They own the ports, the terminals, and the massive floating sugar refineries. They have reached the pinnacle where the name Rabiu is synonymous with the industrial rebirth of Nigeria. When the assets of these 5 dynasties are added up, they reach a total impact exceeding $50 billion. But for the ultra-rich, the dollar amount is secondary because the real story is about absolute control. These families have reached a level of financial escape velocity and are no longer just participants in the economy, but are the ones who facilitate it. They have moved from being individuals to being private institutions and function like their own central banks. This is the ultimate goal of the black status lifestyle because it is about the freedom to operate without asking for permission. But while the Rabiu family is building the physical world, another is quietly building the digital one. Number 4. The Steward family, the tech titans of the Midwest. David Steward is the most powerful man in technology that most people have never heard of. He is based in St. Louis, Missouri, which is far from the cameras and the hype of Silicon Valley. His company is called Worldwide Technology, or WWT. This is a family-owned business that generates over $20 billion in annual revenue. To put that in perspective, that is more money than the yearly budget of many small countries. The origin of this wealth is a story of incredible persistence because David Steward grew up in the segregated South. He faced poverty and systemic barriers that would have stopped most people. But he worked for years in sales at FedEx and became a top performer. He always knew he wanted to own the company. So in 1990, he founded WWT with just 7 employees. In the early days, the company faced massive challenges, and there were times when he even had his car repossessed in the office parking lot. However, he possessed a vision for the future of business and focused on providing high-level services for the United States government and massive global banks. He realized that as the world became digital, these organizations would need a trusted partner, and he was right. He landed massive contracts and turned a small office into a $20 billion fortress. What makes the Steward family a true dynasty is how they have integrated the next generation. David's daughter, Ty Steward, is a central figure in the family's philanthropic and media arms. She helps manage the family's image and their impact on American culture, while her brother, David Steward II, has branched out into the media world. He founded Lion Forge Animation, which is a classic move for a dynasty. They are not just content with owning the technology, but they want to own the stories and the culture as well. The Steward style is the definition of sophisticated stealth wealth. They are major supporters of the arts and education, and they do this with a level of dignity that bypasses the need for public praise. Their headquarters is a masterpiece of architectural design and reflects their taste for excellence. They operate with a philosophy based on service, which has allowed them to build a loyal workforce and long-term relationships with billionaire clients. In the world of high finance, your word is your bond, and the Steward family name is the undisputed holy grail of trust in the tech space. The scale of worldwide technology is hard to overstate because their massive integration centers the size of multiple football fields. They use these facilities to test and build entire IT systems before they ship them to clients. By owning these physical spaces, the Steward family ensures they are not just a middleman, but they are a vital part of the global supply chain. They provide the hardware, the software, and the security that keeps the global economy from crashing. This has made them indispensable to the world's most powerful organizations, making them the ultimate flex of pure utility. You do not need to be famous when the most powerful governments in the world rely on your family to keep their data safe. Today, the Steward family stands as a shining example of what is possible. They combined hard work with a long-term vision and built one of the largest private companies in America while maintaining a level of privacy that is rare in the modern age. They do not need to show off their wealth because the revenue of their business speaks for itself. They have reached a level of financial freedom where they can focus entirely on their mission and their legacy. They are the tech titans of the Midwest, and their story is a blueprint for how to build a lasting empire. You do it by providing the essential services that the world cannot live without. Number 3. The Adenuga family, the silent telecom giants. The Adenuga family moves in silence and carries a big stick because that is the Adenuga way. Mike Adenuga is known across Africa as the Bull. He built a wealth empire that is felt in every corner of Nigeria. His origin story begins in the Ijebu region of Nigeria, which is famous for producing the most astute business minds on the continent. His mother was a successful trader who taught him the fundamentals of business from a young age, and this upbringing created a man who understood a key secret. True power is not about being seen, but it is about owning the platforms that everyone else uses. In the 1970s, Mike Adenuga was in the United States working as a taxi driver and a security guard to pay for his education. This period was crucial because it taught him the value of grit and how to understand the common man. When he returned to Nigeria, he did not just look for a job, but he looked for a monopoly to challenge. In 1991, his company, Conoil, made history when it became the first indigenous Nigerian company to strike oil in commercial quantities. This was a massive moment of disruption because he proved that a local family could compete with the global oil giants who had dominated the region for decades. But the oil business was just the foundation. The real genius was the move into the telecommunications market. The Nigerian government began issuing mobile licenses, and Mike Adenuga faced incredible setbacks. He was even denied a license at first, but he refused to take no for an answer. He eventually launched Globacom, which is known as Glo, and he did something that changed the lives of millions. At the time, foreign companies were charging high prices for mobile calls and charged people for full minutes, even for short calls. Glo introduced per-second billing, and this move broke the monopoly. It was a cultural revolution that made the mobile phone a tool for the masses, and in return, the people made the Adenuga family incredibly rich. However, the family did not stop there because they understood the future of data and connectivity. They invested hundreds of millions of dollars of their own money to build the Glo 1 submarine cable. This massive fiber optic cable runs under the Atlantic Ocean and connects West Africa directly to the United Kingdom. By owning this cable, the family literally owns the pathways of the internet for an entire region. This is the definition of stealth wealth because you do not need to be on the news when you own the cables the news is transmitted through. They captured a demographic that spans an entire continent, and they provide the digital airwaves that connect families and businesses. Inside the family, the business is managed with absolute privacy. His daughter, Beladisu, is a top-tier executive who manages the complex day-to-day operations of the empire. She has been trained to handle high-stakes negotiations in both oil and telecom, which ensures the dynasty's continuity. The family wealth is split between the high-risk world of oil and the steady cash flow of telecom. This balance makes their empire incredibly resilient because even if the price of oil drops, people still need data for their phones. This is a meticulously calibrated strategy for long-term survival. The Adenuga family lives a life of extreme luxury, but they do so behind the thick walls of their estates in London and Lagos. Mike Adenuga is famous for his love of bespoke craftsmanship and high-end cars, yet he is rarely seen in public. He prefers to let his work speak for him, and the family has reached a level where they are a private superpower. And they answer only to themselves and do not worry about the opinions of shareholders because their companies are privately held. This independence is the ultimate luxury for the ultra-rich. They built a world where they are the masters of their own destiny, and their influence is woven into the very fabric of modern African life. But while the Adenugas own the airwaves, another family in South Africa has mastered the art of owning the earth itself. Number 2. The Motsepe family, the masters of mining and global finance. In South Africa, royalty is in the blood and power is in the earth. Patrice Motsepe comes from a royal lineage within the Tswana people and was raised with a profound sense of leadership and responsibility. His father was a school teacher who became a successful businessman and owned a small convenience shop. This background in trade taught Patrice the basics of business, and his legal training as a lawyer prepared him for the big leagues. He did not just want a job, he wanted to own the resources that the world was built upon. The core of the Motsepe wealth began with a very daring move in the mining industry. In the late 1990s, large mining companies wanted to sell off old mines. Most people thought these mines were a waste of money, but Patrice Motsepe saw an opportunity where others saw failure. He bought these mines and used his deep knowledge to make them productive again. This was the birth of African rainbow minerals, which is known as ARM. He focused on efficiency and worked closely with the laborers to build a massive conglomerate. They mined gold, platinum, iron ore, and coal. By owning these raw materials, he secured his family's place in the global elite. But the Motsepe dynasty understood more because they knew that true power requires both finance and culture. They began a sophisticated pivot and are the power behind Time Bank, which is a digital bank that has changed the landscape of banking in South Africa. They used high-tech solutions to make banking accessible to everyone and captured a massive part of the market in a very short time. The family also holds a significant stake in Sanlam, which is one of the largest financial groups on the continent. This means the Motsepe family is involved in your savings and your insurance, owning the resources under the ground and the money in the people's pockets. The Motsepes also understand the power of soft power and cultural influence, owning Mamelodi Sundowns, which is one of the most successful football clubs in Africa. In the world of the ultra-rich, owning a sports team is a major flex because it connects the family name to the passion of millions of fans. People do not just see the name on a corporate building. It shows up on the field, winning championships. This has created a level of brand loyalty that money cannot buy and has made the family a household name associated with success and national pride. The brilliance of the dynasty is also reflected in the work of Dr. Precious Moloi Motsepe, who is the wife of Patrice. She leads African Fashion International, and this organization promotes high-end African luxury to the global market. She is elevating African fashion to a museum-quality art form, which ensures that the family influence reaches into style and elite culture. Together, the couple has built a legacy where they own the gold, the bank that pays for it, and the team that people cheer for. They have created a closed loop of elite status. What makes this family truly unique is their commitment to the concept of Ubuntu. This means their success is tied to the success of their community. They were the first African family to join the Giving Pledge and promised to give away half of their wealth to help others. But their philanthropy is not just about charity, but it is about development. They invest in schools, small businesses, and healthcare because they are investing in the next generation of leaders. This ensures their impact will last for centuries. The Motsepe family has moved past the era of being new money and has become a true royal dynasty of the modern age. They are the architects of a new South Africa, where ownership and leadership go hand in hand. Their story is a blueprint for how to use wealth to lift an entire nation, and they built a fortress of private capital. They are a shining example of combining royal tradition with modern business brilliance. They own the earth, the bank, and the game. But what happens when you look at the total power of all these families combined? Number 1. The Dangote Dynasty, the kings of African infrastructure. If there is one thing to learn about these dynasties, it is that billionaires do not like to be alone. If you think the Rabiu family has no competition, you haven't been paying attention to the Dangote family. The Dangote Dynasty wealth did not start with a lottery ticket. It flows from the dusty trade routes of Kano, Nigeria. To understand the scale of this empire, look back at 1910, when Al-Hassan Dan Tata was already the richest man in West Africa. He did not just trade goods, but he controlled the market with surgical precision and built pyramids of profit out of basic goods like groundnuts and kola nuts. When Aliko Dangote was born into this lineage, he was not just inheriting cash, he was inheriting a sophisticated blueprint for total market dominance. In 1977, Aliko took a $500,000 loan from his uncle to start trading. Most 20-year-olds would have bought a house or a car, but he bought the future. He started with cement and sugar, and then he did something that changed the game forever. He stopped being a middleman and became the source. This is the secret to the empire because he realized that if you own the factory, you own the price, and if you own the price, you own the market. Now, literally everyone building houses in Nigeria, even in the West Africa, uses his cement. This is not just a business, but a private superpower. He understood a simple truth early on, which is that if you own the foundation, you own the nation. The crown jewel of this dynasty is a $20 billion industrial city. It is a refinery so big that it handles 650,000 barrels of oil every single day. For decades, Nigeria had to buy fuel from the world, but now the world buys from Dangote. This refinery is not just for profit because it is a piece of national security and a move for total economic sovereignty. It places the family at the center of the global energy conversation. The ultra-rich comprehend that owning energy is the ultimate form of control. Inside the family, the focus is on the multi-generational preservation of power. His daughter, Halima Dangote, serves as a high-level executive and manages the complex commercial operations that keep the empire running. They do not spend their time seeking validation on social media, but instead move in the quiet zone of boardrooms and industrial sites. This is stealth wealth personified. They own the ships, the trucks, the power plants, and the factories. And they have built a wall of assets that is protected by the sheer necessity of their products. By focusing on things that people need every single day, they have ensured that the family name is as permanent as the buildings constructed with their materials. The strategy is simple, and that is to own the entire supply chain. They do not want to pay a third party for logistics, so they own a fleet of thousands of trucks. They do not want to rely on the national grid, so they build their own power plants. This level of independence allows them to maintain high margins and crush any competition. Furthermore, the first reason this matters is the transformation from fame to utility. For decades, the media focused on black wealth in entertainment and sports, but that wealth is often fragile because it depends on public opinion and physical ability. These 5 dynasties are different because they built something permanent. They own things that the world cannot live without, such as cement, oil, technology, and internet cables. This is the difference between being a celebrity and being an essential part of the global infrastructure. When you own the foundation of a nation, your wealth is protected by the necessity of your existence. You do not need a blue checkmark when you own the cables the internet runs on. Another reason this matters is generational continuity. In high finance, most wealth is lost by the 3rd generation, but these 5 families broke that cycle. They meticulously integrated their children into the family business and gave them an elite education and power. By keeping the leadership in the bloodline, they protect their secrets and their long-term vision. This allows them to make decisions for the next 50 years instead of just worrying about the next quarter. They are building a legacy that will last for hundreds of years. This is the hallmark of a true dynasty. These families also act as private central banks for their regions. In emerging markets, access to capital is a massive barrier, and global banks are often hesitant to invest. However, families like the Dangotes or the Adenugas have the cash and can fund massive industrial projects on their own. This gives them a level of independence from the global financial system. They do not have to wait for a loan from London or New York because they can fund it themselves. This keeps the profits and the control within the family and is the ultimate form of economic sovereignty. It allows them to shape the future of their countries with surgical precision. The real secret is the move towards stealth wealth because these families do not feel the need to broadcast their every move. They understand that true power is quiet and prefer to operate in the quiet zone. They build their empires without the distraction of public noise and have reached a level of financial freedom where they no longer need validation. They have already won. They are the ones who own the buildings, the land, and the technology everyone else is using. This is the psychological power of absolute dominance and the quiet confidence of being the landlord of the economy. These dynasties are the pioneers of a new era. They show that the next wave of billionaires will solve basic problems and prove that discipline and long-term strategy work better than flashy trends. They have mastered the art of compounding wealth across a century, and their impact will be felt for generations. Finally, true wealth isn't about what you spend. It's about what you own. These 5 dynasties have reached financial escape velocity, proving that the ultimate flex is being indispensable to the world. They don't just participate in the economy, they are the foundation of it. So, which of these families' business strategies surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments and subscribe to our channel for more.